What was it? Is there like a specific game that was?
I know like Super Metroid was in there,
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country was in there, but and part of it too is it was like it was right around the time CDs were coming out, and so I wanted a CD player, and then the CD player that my mom got me, it also had the audio in, so then I could get stereo sound, and it had a tape deck, so I could record game soundtracks. So I was recording Secret of Mana and Mega Man X and that kind of stuff.
Do you remember what your first? What was the first game that you actually recorded?
The first that I actually tried.
Which broke the seal.
Yeah, exactly. What was the one where you sat down and it's I have to have this. I have to put this to tape.
Yeah, I don't know which one the first one was. I know I did some Final Fantasy VI opera scenes and the ending. I actually recorded those to VHS. And brought them to my English teacher because we were studying opera and you got to watch this.
Oh yeah, completely.
That's awesome.
That's still one of the best sequences of any Final Fantasy is where you got to go through the opera scene. You have to remember the lines as you're going through.
I love that we have these experiences that at the time they just seem like diversion basically, and then they end up being this fundamental cultural backbone, core part of who we are. For me, the LucasArts and the Sierra Adventure games were those. I'll my memories with Maniac Mansion and Monkey Island and then the subsequent later Grim Fandango is to me the height of games.
Oh,
man. And yeah, musically. Those I distinctly remember one of the first games I went to figure out how to play by ear on the piano was the theme to Monkey Island,
nice.
Which was what was that, 91 or something like that. It was pretty far back. So like I said, these things were always gonna collide one way or the other. Well, yeah, because now everybody's in their 30s and 40s and remembering the good old days of their youth and wanting to recreate it, and so you see that aesthetically across the board. I mean, look at a game like Fez, where it's a giant love letter to the way games were made back then, but obviously with wonderful contemporary twists that they could never have actually done then.
Yeah, but I feel it's there was a point maybe 4 or 5 years ago that was all just a nostalgia trip, and now I feel we've kind of graduated beyond that. So it's if people want to make a game in a certain style, just do it.
Oh, absolutely. No, for sure. And yeah, I think a lot of, because there's always the danger that that's a gimmick, right? And that it's not actually kind of an authentic statement, and that it's just reactionary to feelings of nostalgia and trying to recapture. To me, that's always kind of a weird psychological thing where it's if I make something that's a big love letter to this thing I'm nostalgic for, maybe I actually made the thing. But yeah, you're right. I think you're probably right. We gone beyond. I mean, Super Hexagon actually is a perfect example, I think, where I didn't play that game and feel nostalgic to games of old. I was just sitting there going, fuck, and struggling to play it. And Chipsel's music, to me, is just great music. It's not a tip of the hat to the 8-bit era. It's 8-bit 21st century music, which is awesome. I do remember every now and again, and this was 0.01%, but I did get some I remember the indie cred of that game company was constantly called into question because they had to deal with Sony.
Sony, of course.
And because and we recorded an actual orchestra for Journey, and people were like, I don't think indies do live orchestras, and I'm like, so you'd rather I do a cheap fake attempt to sound like a real orchestra? If I'm doing electronic music, that's its own thing. It sounds right. It sounds like what it is. There's no better produced version of Chipsel's music, for example. She does it exactly how it's supposed to be. That's its natural environment. But if I'm writing for strings and it's supposed to be something expressive like Journey, I'm well, we kind of need to do real strings. And I did, again, I don't want to overstate it because it was very few people, but there were a few people that were I don't know, I was kind of hoping for kind of an indie experience, and I heard a real orchestra, and that's kind of I'm really?
That's true with just about anything.
Yeah, but that's the closest I can think of to there being sort of those taboo things, And if I'm if that's the case, then Banner Saga is totally screwed because we produced far more elaborately on this one than on Journey. It's like, I submit myself to your judgment. Like on a game
Right.
like Banner Saga, do you go in saying like this music better be good, or do you go in just to play a game and
Yeah, I mean, I think I usually, it's weird because I definitely have times where I'm more intentional about it. I think most of the time I just go in and start playing the game, and then things, sometimes things will pop out of me, like the sea shanties in Assassin's Creed. I'm
Right.
like,
sure,
I
yeah,
did not see that coming. This is awesome.
right.
And then other times, I mean, like what I played Max Payne 3. It did not have a good reputation around the office. There were a lot of people that said it's a pass, whatever. But I played that game because of the music. Because I had
Right.
already, had to, I wanted to consider it for, like when we do our end of the year awards and all that stuff. So like I'd gotten that soundtrack and listened to that soundtrack, and then it's like I want to hear how this works. I want to hear how it flows in the game, because like a lot of times that can be really different.
Oh yeah,
Preaching
to the choir there.
Even like
Right.
when you did like Monaco, like as as simple or whatever as people want to say that is, just that tension rise when you get spotted.
Yeah.
Oh, the
That
music
makes
for
a
that.
huge difference than just
The
listening
chase
to
music.
it on an album.
That's very wacky.
Quoi? Mais je vais te tuer!
I have to say, like, good music, like I enjoy it, it sort of like follows the action, so on and so forth. But great music, like there were a couple of times during last year that I heard Risk of Rain, I think had some amazing soundtrack to it, and I loved it. But the problem was I couldn't get past like the first couple of levels, so I would hear the same thing over and over again. But there's another game, like I feel like good music, like really great music, can just punctuate the right emotions when you're dealing with a game where you want to like pull out like something a little bit extra, or you want to hit something really hard. I'm actually one of my favorite games from last year that just got into the Independent Game Festival, the Yaw. It doesn't have. It has like a little bit of music, but it's that last song.
Yeah.
So in the game, you have 6 weeks in order to sort of prepare the city for like an attack. Like there's going to be a disaster, everyone is going to be just washed out, and it's like you have 6 weeks to prepare. And once that happens and once it hits, there's the song that plays.
Yeah,
like at the very end.
It's very touching.
And it hits you, and it's almost like a punch in the gut.
Yeah,
whenever you hear it, because you feel the desolation, you feel like sort of the loneliness, you feel sort of like the outcry that you were not good enough to save these people. And every time it plays, it's just like, oh my God, what could I have done better? What if I could go back again
Totally
and
agree.
replay the whole thing? What could I do? And it's because of that song. It's not because the game cuts to like whatever. I mean, it's all told in sort of like stills and text, but it's because of that song that really just pushes that emotional sort of note for you.
It does beg the question, though, that I'm curious your take on. Some people say the best music is the one that you don't notice.
Right.
You just have this amazingly immersive, engrossing experience. And other people say the best is the one that, like, you can hardly wait to
It's
buy the
gonna stand out.
soundtrack because
Oh, yeah, completely.
it's part of the. And I'm curious because I think about this a lot because obviously
I'm not in the don't notice camp, really. I mean, I honestly, like, if I go back and I listen through a soundtrack and I can't pick out like what any of those moments are,
Right.
I feel like somehow it's kind of lost it. It's like it's gotten some kind of disconnect
Right.
from the story if it's not reminding me of where I was at. And that's one of the like harder decisions for me. Like a couple years ago, like I really love like the Infamous soundtracks,
Right.
and I was just listening to them over and over and over again. But I was like, I don't know what any of this actually goes to. I just like this music.
Well, I'm
So-
on Tobin,
No, I have to say I'm probably the same way. I think Swords and Sorcery, the whole soundtrack, I can tell you exactly which beat of the song, what I'm doing in that game. I can tell you exactly at what note I hit the bridge coming back.
Yeah.
Because it's so profound and it's so moving and it has such an effect on you because of that.
It's so interesting, because to me, there's also like, I really love subtlety is the thing.
Right.
Like I remember back in the day when Fear came out, you wouldn't remember. I think the experience that you're talking about, you wouldn't, if you went back and listened to like an album, you wouldn't be able to say, oh, this is that sequence or whatever. But God, it's so unnerving and effective in context that it's one of those like, because as a composer, you have to make these decisions. Like, do I kind of get a little bit boisterous here, knowing that people will probably notice, or do I try to play around the edges?
Well,
I don't have the answer.
I think it kind of just goes back to what you were saying before. It's like you're trying. I think it's like you have to identify and find that right voice for that game.
True.
Because like, I don't know, like. Like I said, I love that Infamous music, and it really, like a lot of the cool experimental stuff they did speaks to being in the city and all of the stuff going on. So it doesn't mean that they did a bad job or anything. So it is probably one of those things that's very individual to each game.
Yeah. If you played Skyrim, even a normal number of hours, you've probably heard that music more than your favorite band of all time. I mean, have you really listened to the Beatles more than 100 hours or even 50 hours?
Right.
Very few people listen to one thing that much.
Where are you going to put that thing?
On your chest.
On my chest.
On your chest.
On my chest. Okay,
Yes.
so this is actually a part of the game itself. I guess I need to start putting this.
Got to strip down, put it on. And to make it even more fun, I usually add a little bit of this. It's not required.
So sorry.
But these cardio straps are made to work
God,
while
what
you're
are you
exercising.
putting on there?
So to make it extra fun, we add this gel on there. It just helps it read it better, but it's not necessary.
Oh God.
I just like subjecting people to this.
Oh,
All right.
nice.
And so you want to put this on like just under the pectoral muscles. So
I don't even know. I have pectoral muscle.
it's a good way to find out.
Okay.
Here we go. And then we're going to bring it around. Excuse me there.
And what is this going to measure?
So this is going to measure your heart rate.
Oh God.
And then from there, the computer is going to read your heart rate variability, which is how we can determine how scared or stressed you're getting while you're playing Nevermind. And keep in mind that you're going to have to learn how to stay calm, because the more scared and stressed you get, the harder it's going to become.
Oh, that's
So you're going to have
cool.
to keep your cool.
Couldn't warm up the gel before you did that, could you?
Nope,
Oh,
nope, that's all part of the experience.
Thanks.
So the game is, there's an Ant Plus USB stick that is hooked up to the computer, and the game is getting data from the heart rate monitor through that stick, and taking the heart rate data that the Garmin strap is giving it and calculating heart rate variability based on that. And heart rate variability is basically just the cadence of your heartbeats. It's not specifically the heart rate itself, but the rhythm, the distance between each beat. And that's just a really great indication to tell, how anxious someone's getting or how calm someone is.
So the purpose of this game is actually not necessarily just to scare me, but this is actually to learn how to deal with stress.
Exactly. So as you get more stressed and scared, because it is a horror game, so you are going to get stressed and scared, you're going to have to learn how to calm down, because the game is actually going to work against you. The more scared you get, the harder the game will become. You're also collecting these photos and solving puzzles and exploring the environment, but first and foremost, if you don't keep your cool, you're not going to get too far. So right now you're in the kitchen, and that
oh God.
means that you're getting a little stressed out.
I am a little stressed out.
So,
How could you tell?
So the milk flooding is what gave it away.
Oh goodness. So the sensor that I have now underneath my shirt is telling me that I'm stressed out because the place is
Exactly.
flooding with milk.
And the longer you stay
oh.
stressed, the more it's going to flood. Now you can't see, so you're going to have to calm down pretty quick. Calm down. Calm down. There you go.
So this is really great. How long you've been working on this?
So this started as my master's thesis back in 2012, and I worked on it with a really great, talented team of student developers over the course of one academic year. Since then I graduated, I went out to the industry, did some other stuff for a while, but I've recently returned to this full time to take it from this thesis state that is in. It's one fully working level, build more levels and make it even better, scarier, as a fully releasable product that we hope to have out in mid-2015. Get your own damned milk!
Oh Jesus.
So everything is really surreal, really warped. We don't have a lot of monsters in here or things jumping out at you as you see in a lot of traditional horror games. Instead, we focus on creating really creepy, really spooky, atmospheric, terror. that we subject the player to, and you never know what's going to be around the corner. And all of it leads into the mystery of solving what was this trauma that the persons whose mind you're in experienced, because they can't remember it. They've forgotten it was so awful, and so it's up to you to put the pieces together and figuring it out so that they can finally remember it, take ownership over it, and start processing it. In the future version, though, we're definitely hoping to have more training areas so that not only do we give you an arena to practice managing stress on the fly through this horrific video game, you also have the tools going into it to be able to practice whatever works best for you as well.
I'm in the shower right now. Go ask your father. Ask your father.
Oh, jeez.
Hey, you did it pretty well. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Oh,
the
now it's all.
aftermath.
Give it a second. Oh. Thanks, Santo. Oh, jeez.
So these photos here, those are the fragments of the memories that you found, and there are 10 of them scattered throughout the level. Only 5 of them actually have to deal with the trauma narrative itself, and so by the time you've collected all 10, you've seen the entire level, you've learned all about this person, and you have to figure out which 5 have to do with the trauma and in which order they occurred. So it's a horror game, it's a puzzle game, it's also a mystery game in that way. And every single nook and cranny has a clue as to what happened. So you have to keep a sharp eye out as you're exploring the deep, dark corners of the game.
As you're checking the place out and trying to stay as stress-free as possible.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I have to say, like, the game really looks great, and is, you know, as we found out, is very much stress-induced.
Cool room if you turn around. And one more door.
There we
you
go.
go.
I'm trying.
So each room has its own way of dealing with your stress. You can see the static on the screen. That happens throughout the level. That's a way you can constantly see how you're doing. But then the kitchen, as you saw, it floods with milk. Here, you can see that the puzzle pieces are illuminated, but as you get more stressed, they'll start to dim. And if you stay too stressed for too long, you're not going to be able to see the puzzle pieces.
No.
It doesn't help that you have these statues that scream at you.
No.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
trying to check that out, see if I did something that was wrong.
It's only when you're not looking at them, though.
This is fantastic. And it actually really is sort of a fun sort of like world that you're actually traveling through in order to figure things out as I slowly become. I can tell like when I'm becoming more stressed as the screen starts to flicker and dim. Here we go.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that it was a fun game first and foremost. Photo right there. There you go. And also you can play it without the sensor. So
Oh,
we
nice.
wanted to be something that anyone can play if they want. And if you're playing without a sensor, we use things like the mouse movement or keyboard button presses to approximate how stressed you're getting, with the idea that if you're getting frustrated, if you're getting scared, you're going to be button mashing a little bit. But of course, then the biofeedback technology is just this additional layer of immersion and coolness that we're pretty excited about. So as you can see, we have a pretty diverse level already. But with the next version that we're planning, with the hopeful support of the Kickstarter, we're planning to add more levels, more patients. So this is just one patient's twisted subconscious mind, and we have a lot of really great ideas for other patients, other traumas to explore. This one deals a lot with the domestic space, but there's so many different directions we can go with the additional levels that we're really excited about what else we can torture our players with. In addition to actually expanding on the sensor hardware as well. Right now we use the Garmin chest strap, which is great, but we're hoping that we can build that even further so that more sensors are supported, as well as exploring using the Xbox One with their Connect 2.0 that reads biofeedback just from the camera. You wouldn't even need to wear a device, which is super exciting for us. So we're really excited about expanding this further and taking it to the next level. What's cool about this level is that, or this part of the level, is that the music actually responds to your stress as well. So as you get more scared, not only does the world become more twisted and distorted, the music becomes more intense too.
Oh my God. Okay, I just need to breathe in order to be able to see my way through this place. So once again, if someone wants to learn more about this game and learn more about the Kickstarter, where can they go?
Best place to go would be the Kickstarter page itself. You can get to that at www.tinyurl.com/nevermindkickstarter. And there's a ton of information there. Also, if anyone has any questions, just leave them in the comments or send me a message and I'm always happy to answer them. I'm excited to be sharing this with everyone. And
well, thanks for bringing this by, and hopefully I can lower my stress just enough so I can actually get out of here at some point.
You're doing great.
Oh my God.
I'm playing WoW, Burning Crusade, Underbog, 5-man with my guild. Okay. We were going through, everything was going fine. Took a break for some reason. Okay. We get up to one of the bosses, and we're just about to pull the boss. Okay. My wife walks in the room, and she says, "Rob, we got to talk." And I said, "Can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of something." She said, "Rob, pause the game." I explained to her before. She knows game has no pause. So she says, "Rob, I need to talk to you right now." I look over at her. She's holding a pregnancy test.
Oh God.
And then in my
Who's
headset,
the father?